Welcome to the Tell Us Ellis podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. We are doing two more teams on our journey through 30 teams of Major League Baseball, doing team previews for each. We are down to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. After today, we'll have 6 left. And we're plugging away so that by the weekend, we'll be through everyone. And then I'll go through my final picks for the year and my final pyramid, showing it off to everybody, and also making some baseball picks for the year. So that'll be a fun show. Look forward to that. But we've got 2 more teams today to get through first. The Astros and the Mets. And the Astros just don't excite me. They've never excited me. Maybe it's the whole trash can banging, cheating situation. I don't know. Maybe it's I don't know. I've always felt they've had pretty bland uniforms. But I don't know if it's any of that. They're just kind of bland to me, but we'll get into the details of that. And then the Mets, we'll have to spend some time on all the changes they went through. A lot of changes in the offseason. Before we get into it, I would ask if you are enjoying the podcast, give it a thumbs up, give the individual podcast a thumbs up. Let me know that you like it. I would also love for you to subscribe. If you're listening to these podcasts or watching them regularly, click the subscribe button, whether that's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever podcasting platform you use. Please just follow it, subscribe, and that way it just comes right into your inbox, and you can start your car in the morning, get ready to go to work, and it'll just pop on for you. It is a beautiful thing. Also, follow me on social media at TellUsEllisHQ. That's on X, that's on Instagram. And email me if you have any questions. I am going to do a full mailbag. I'm embarrassed that I've not done this yet. I do want to get through our baseball preview, but I've received some questions from people that I know, some questions who I have no idea who these people are, some spam, always get some spam, but some really good stuff that I want to go through with you. So that'll come up soon. But email me if you have a question, if you want to join the show. Love to hear from some golfers with the Masters coming up and, the golf season getting off to a full swing. No pun intended. So yeah, a lot of good stuff going on. So yeah, just email me if you're interested. Now let's start today's podcast by talking about the Houston Astros. Well, there's no doubt about it. The Houston Astros have been one of the best teams in baseball for the recent decade or so of seasons. This team has built this their way and had to go through a lot of really tough seasons to build it the way they wanted to build it. But ultimately, after all those tough seasons, they ended up getting really great draft picks, supplemented with free agent acquisitions. And this has been a really historically good team. Through all of these previews, I've only gone back to 2021. I didn't really want to get into the COVID season and all of that, but they were really good much before 21, maybe because they were cheating. I don't know. But 2021, they were 95-67, finished in first place, won the American League Division Series 3-1 over Chicago, won the ALCS 4-2 over Boston, and then lost the World Series 4-2 to Atlanta. So that was a World Series appearance. They did lose, but again, first place year, really good postseason. Go to 2022, they were 106 wins and 56 losses, 106 wins. That was first place again, won the American League Division Series 3-0 over Seattle, won the ALCS 4-0 over New York, and then won the World Series 4-2 over Philadelphia, a world championship, a postseason where they go 11-2. That's really good. And again, historic team. 2023, they lost 16 games more than they lost in 2022. They finished 90-72. It was still good for first place in the American League West. They won the American League Division Series 3-1 over Minnesota, but then lost the ALCS 4-3 over Texas. Texas would go on to be the world champion that year. 2024, they lost 2 more games than the previous year and went 88-73, which was still good enough for first place. They lost the American League wild card 2-0 to Detroit that year And that was the end of their postseason run. And then 2025, finally, they do not win the division. They finished in second place, 3 games back. It was the first time in 8 years that they missed the playoffs. They had a 7-game lead on July 6th in the American League West, and they went 32-40 after that time. They missed the playoffs. They were in first place by a half a game on September 17th, but they lost 6 of 9 to finish the season. So when we're reviewing this team, we're going to have to look at how did they improve over last year, because they need some improvement. If you look, again, they've had really good seasons. 2022 when they won 106 games, but they've won fewer games every season since 2022. So we'll have to look at that. Manager is Joe Espada. He took over in 2024, replacing Dusty Baker. He previously served as their bench coach from 2018 to 2023. He is entrenched as their manager, and again, 2025 did not make the playoffs. From an Espada standpoint, he knows the Astros culture. He knows how to manage veteran personalities, which this team is a lot of veteran personalities now. He's respected by players. He inherited some pressure. Hinch wins the World Series, gets suspended. Dusty Baker comes in. And by the way, Hinch is a great manager. Known as a great manager. Dusty Baker comes in. He's a Hall of Fame manager. Now Espada comes in, and he's not flashy. He's not going to win you over with personality and charm, but he gets the job done. From a general manager standpoint, Dana Brown is the president of baseball operations. He took over in 2023. He's a former Braves exec. He reports to Jim Crane, the owner. I'll talk about Crane in a second. He oversees all baseball strategy, roster construction, scouting, development, analytics. He's got a strong scouting background. He's a talent evaluator first, and then also analytics integrated, I'll say second. But he's still building long-term credibility because he inherited a contender rather than building one from scratch. So that'll be something that, he's going to have to show that he can do at some point, provided this team does have to pivot a little bit from their winning ways. I mentioned Jim Crane, the owner. He purchased the team back in 2011. He oversees all major financial decisions. He's directly involved in high-level baseball leadership hires. He backed the full rebuild of this team that led to the 2017 championship. He's very hands-on owner. He was very much criticized for the sign stealing scandal as an organizational oversight failure. That fell squarely on him, and he didn't do a great job of taking ownership of it. And I think that that's really what kind of pissed people off. So right now the Astros play at Daikin Park. I think I'm saying that right. Daikin Park. And the way that field plays, it's pretty average when you look at it. It plays pretty much average with where the average in Major League Baseball is. In April, it plays up about 1% as far as runs go. May, it's down about 4%. June, on average with other teams, same thing with July. August, runs fall by about 3%. And then September, they kind of spike up to 6%. Now, this stadium does have a retractable dome on it. So although I honestly can't remember watching an Astros game and seeing the dome open. I'm sure it's open quite a bit, but I just haven't seen it. Gracie is crying over here because she wants to see the dome open. But in all seriousness, that does have an impact on how the ball plays, whether the dome is open, whether it's closed, airflow, all of that. So it's hard sometimes in these retractable roofs to get a true view of how the stadium plays. All right, let's talk about attendance for a second. Sometimes I don't go over this as much as I probably should, but from a support standpoint, this team has been really well supported. 2021 coming out of COVID still had some fan restrictions. They drew over 2 million fans. 2022, they drew 2.7 million fans. 2023, coming off their World Series victory, they drew over 3 million fans. They fell to 2.8 million in 24 and 2.7 million in 25. So, this is a team in this stadium that when they're winning, at least, we know they're going to draw over 2.5 million fans. It'll be interesting to see if they start falling upon hard times, How will that translate? Will the fans still come out? So we'll have to keep an eye on that. And again, I'm not predicting failure for this team. That we'll go through it. They still have a very good roster. What are their changes since last offseason? When you look at who they lost, I'm going to go through some names. The big one, I'm just going to say, the big one is Framber Valdez. Framber Valdez, top of the rotation starter, 13-11 with a 3.66 ERA last year. He's been dependable, 31 games started, 192 innings pitched, 197 strikeouts, and a 124 whip. He goes to Detroit now, and they are going to miss that arm in the rotation. We'll talk about that when we go over their starting rotation. Beyond that, a lot of the guys that they lost were not premier players on this team. They were more fill-in players. Maybe the one that hurts the most is Mauricio Dubon, who was actually traded in a deal with the Braves. Dubon batted .241, 7 home runs, 33 RBIs, 3 stolen bases. Maybe he had an impact. Maybe a guy like a Victor Caratini had an impact on this team, more of a backup catcher, but one of the best backup catchers, one of the best defensive catchers in baseball, .259, 12 homers, 46 RBIs, and 728 OPS. They also lost Jacob Melton in a 3-team trade with the Rays and Pirates. Melton only batted .157 last year with 7 RBIs. He only had 70 at-bats. Ramon Urias, third baseman, signed with the Cardinals, .241, 11 home runs, 44 RBIs, pretty much playing off the bench. And then Brendan Rodgers signed with the Red Sox. He only batted .192, 2 homers, 11 RBIs, a .544 OPS. And again, that was only in 115 at-bats. The other one that they lost was out of the bullpen, Craig Kimbrell, a veteran, but he only appeared in 14 games for him. So 12 innings, not that much that they're probably going to miss from Kimbrell. Who did they add? And this is where it gets, to me, pretty exciting. So I'll start with Joey Luperfido. Came over in a 3-team trade with the Rays and the Pirates. Luperfido hit .333, 4 home runs, 14 RBIs, and 879 OPS. Granted, that was only in 96 at-bats, but really good numbers. So he's a guy that's probably not going to play every day, but it will likely platoon for Houston, but a really good bat. Nick Allen also was traded over in a trade with the Braves. .221, no home runs, 22 RBIs, 8 stolen bases. He only had 371 at-bats for the Braves. Christian Vasquez signed a minor league deal. He could be the backup catcher in Houston, 189, 3 homers, 14 RBIs. Mike Burrows, who I like, starting pitcher, came over in a deal between a 3-team deal with the Rays and Pirates. Burrows pitched for Pittsburgh last year, 2-4, 3.94 ERA. 23 games, he started 19 of them, 96 innings, struck out 97 batters, and had a 124 whip. And I think he could fit nicely into this competitive Astros team this year. And then I'll say the big signing was Tatsuya Amai, starting pitcher, comes over from Japan. Stellar numbers in Japan, 10-5 with a 192 ERA. In 163 2/3 innings, he strikes out 178 batters, and his whip is 0.892. Unbelievable numbers. In that 163 2/3 innings, he only gave up 101 hits. So really good numbers in Japan. Again, you know what I'm going to say. How does it translate to the U.S., to North America, to Major League Baseball? So it'll be exciting to see how he fits in. So those were the changes made during the offseason. Let's get into first the hitting for this team. They were kind of middle of the road hitting last year, 12th in the league in average, 15th in on-base percentage, 15th in OPS. And when I go through this lineup, you're going to see a lot of veterans now. These guys were young back when this team started making their run, but now they are veterans. Jose Altuve, approaching 36 years old. Altuve played a little bit of the outfield last year. I think he's going to get most of his playing time now this year at second base. His average was down last year, 265, but he did hit 26 home runs, stole 10 bases, not what he stole in the past, but still a very good hitter. 329 on base percentage was lower for him than normal. and didn't eclipse an 800 OPS, but Altuve's still a very dangerous hitter in this lineup. Let's talk about the guy that they really missed last year, battled a bunch of injuries, and that's Yordan Alvarez. Just him coming back and playing a full season is going to help this team immensely. You know, he only batted .273 with 6 home runs last year. That was in about 200 plate appearances. You could say, well, if you triple that, 18 home runs is not a typical Yordan Alvarez year. I would agree with you. He was battling injury. So let's see what he can do in a full year. He's 367 on base percentage, 430 slugging percentage. That right around 800 OPS. I would expect a little bit more than that from Alvarez. But again, he would be a really good fantasy guy to cling on to because I think he's going to be healthy and I think he could have a monster year. Third baseman is Isaac Paredes. He came over in a trade with the Cubs back in 2024 before the 25 season. Last year, he batted .254 with 20 home runs and 438 plate appearances, on base percentage of .352, over 800 OPS. So Paredes playing third base, that is a good spot in the lineup for him. And Gracie, or that might not be Gracie, that might be Bailey, agrees with me on that. All right, Carlos Correa came over in the trade deadline last year. In at shortstop, Carlos Correa, he is now 31 years old, not old by any standpoint. 276 last year, 13 home runs, 332 on base percentage, 402 slugging percentage. It's not the Carlos Correa at his best, at least last year wasn't, but if they can get a good Carlos Correa at shortstop, that'll help this team immensely as well, and maybe he's just going to feel better in a full season back at home in Houston. Christian Walker came over last year, and actually, it was last year was his first full year in Houston. Didn't put up the numbers I think they hoped he would. Now, don't get me wrong, he hit 27 home runs, but batting average was .238, on-base percentage was below .300. Honestly, low 700 OPS. I think it was a disappointing year. They wanted more from Walker. Walker's now 35 years old on opening day. They need a lot from him, and I think having Alvarez in that lineup again could help Walker quite a bit. So we'll see. I talked about Joey Loperfido coming over, left-handed batter, probably going to platoon a little bit. When you look at that bench, this is what I think. This is where I think they will end up. I think Bryce Matthews is likely to be a utility infielder, outfielder, a right-hand bat. He could platoon with Loperfido. And then Cam Smith, 23 years old, first year last year, 236, 9 home runs, 8 stolen bases. Again, only 23 years old, but I could see Cam Smith, the right-handed batter, platooning with Loperfido as well. So Loperfido, 333, 4 home runs last year. Again, that was only in 104 plate appearances. So we'll see if he can become more of a regular, I don't want to say everyday player, but getting, 400, 450 at bats. Yanier Diaz is their catcher. Diaz, 256 with 20 home runs last year. Doesn't get on base a whole lot, 284 clip, 417 slugging percentage, but pretty good offensive catcher from an average and home run standpoint. Zach Cole is likely to play right field. Cole last year batted .255, 4 home runs, 3 stolen bases, only in 52 plate appearances. Cole was a 10th round draft pick of the Astros back in 2022. So, he will get a chance to play. And again, there might be some platooning there with Cam Smith. I think they're going to want to get Cam Smith into a lot of games, get him 500 plus at bats. He had 493 plate appearances last year. I think they'd love to get that to 500 plus. So, and then Jake Myers is in center field. Myers batted .292 last year, 3 home runs, 16 stolen bases. He got on base at a 354 clip last year. He does run. I know they like Altuve at the top of that lineup. If I'm building that lineup, I put a guy like Jake Matthews lead off. I bump Altuve to 2. I think I'd put Alvarez 3 and Walker 4 and maybe Correa 5, something like that. But I like to get more speed at the top of the lineup personally. Some of the other players that are going to have likely on their bench, Cesar Salazar, he or Christian Vasquez is probably going to catch for this team. So we'll see what happens there. Salazar, 231, only 16 plate appearances last year. Christian Vasquez, 189. Didn't have a whole lot of plate appearances. So they're going to have to figure that out. Kind of surprising that they left Carantini go. So that is, and then Nick Allen, I should mention Nick Allen. He is a utility infielder. He came over in a trade with the Athletics in November. 221 batter, 8 stolen bases, very little power, but he could win a backup infield position as well. So that's the hitting. I think getting a better year from Christian Walker, a healthy year from Yordan Alvarez, I think those are big wins for this team. I don't think they're going to be any worse than middle of the pack in hitting. So let's talk about their pitching now. Their pitching's gone through a lot of changes, and they had guys that they relied on, like a Framber Valdez, who's no longer there. So what does this pitching staff look like? Well, they do have an ace, a true number one in Hunter Brown, given what he did last year. Brown was a 5th-round pick of Houston back in 2019. Last year, 185 and a third innings, just 133 hits and 206 strikeouts. Really, really good year for Hunter Brown. 2.43 ERA. If he can replicate that, this team is in really good shape. You've got Christian Javier coming back, hopefully having a full season after having some injury issues. I don't even like to look at his stats last year because it was only in 8 games started. 37 innings, 32 hits, 34 strikeouts, and a 4.62 ERA. So, when Javier was good, he was really good. When he wasn't as good, he was pretty bad. If he can be an average of what he's been prior to the injury, probably slots more as a number 4 starter, I would say, but maybe he can surprise us and come out and throw the ball really well. So now you've got Tatsuya Amai coming over from Japan, and he's going to slot somewhere in the middle of that rotation. I gave you his numbers. It just depends on how he can pitch in Major League Baseball, and will that translate well? If he pitches 80% of what he did in Japan, I think Houston would be very, very happy with that. So, but some questions, no doubt about it, around Amai. Lance McCullers Jr. has been hurt, I think, every year that I've known him, and I know this from a fantasy standpoint. He's now 32 years old, started 13 games last year, 55 and a third innings, 61 hits and 61 strikeouts. His ERA was 6.51, so some concern there, no doubt about it. I think first and foremost, you just want him to be healthy, and if he can be healthy, then maybe being a number 4, number 5 starter is pretty good. I think Mike Burrows is really going to help this team. I gave you his stats earlier: 3.94 ERA for Pittsburgh last year, 96 innings, 88 hits, and 97 strikeouts. I really like this guy. I think having him not even as a 5 starter, maybe he's their 4 starter. McCullers is 5. You get 80% of Amai. You have Christian Javier come back to kind of midway of what he was pre-injury, and then Hunter Brown at the top of that rotation. Maybe that's enough. Now, with Framber Valdez last year, this team ranked 14th in ERA, 12th in WHIP. I don't know if the makeup of this team is going to lead to those numbers again this year. I worry they're going to slip backwards in starting pitching, and that could be detrimental to them, no doubt about it. Let's look at the bullpen. This is a bullpen that finished 8th in ERA, 2nd in WHIP, so it was a really good bullpen. Brian Abreu is likely to close games for them this year. He had 7 saves last year, but 71 innings, 51 hits, and 105 strikeouts. No doubt, dominant numbers, 2.28 ERA, so you like that. Setup men, you've got Brian King. Brian King, a 2.78 ERA last year with 2 saves. 68 innings, 60 hits, and 69 strikeouts. I think that's really strong. Eniel De Los Santos is your other setup reliever. 66 innings, 61 hits, 62 strikeouts. He did have a 4.36 ERA, but I think, with De Los Santos from the right side and Brian King from the left side, I'd feel pretty good about those setup guys. I think that's a pretty strong bullpen, back of the rotation, or back of the bullpen, I should say, not rotation. Middle relievers, Steven Okert is going to be a middle relief, just dominant numbers, 71 and 2/3 innings, 45 hits, and 84 strikeouts, pitched to a 3.01 ERA. You've got Jaden Murray, who pitched 11 and 2/3 innings last year, just 10 hits and 8 strikeouts, but pitched to a 1.54 ERA. Bennett Souza, he pitched 50 and 2/3 innings last year, gave up just 37 hits, 59 strikeouts, and a 2.84 ERA. And then we'll see who the long reliever is. I slated in Rodri Munoz here as a Rule 5 pick if they want to keep him. Munoz, very limited action last year, an 8.18 ERA, but just in 11 innings pitched. I look at that and I say that is a really solid bullpen. I really like this bullpen, and I think they can replicate their numbers from last year. Maybe their hitting's a little bit better. Their starting pitching maybe a little bit worse. Their bullpen somewhat similar to where they were last year. Now, they do have some players that are injured, and one of them, and this is going to make a huge difference in this bullpen, is Josh Hader. He had some bicep inflammation in February. Right now, he's not pitching. But if they can get him right, I think that makes a big difference to this team. He would be your closer and everybody else moves back a slot. You'd have to feel really good about that. The other name in this bullpen is Nate Pearson, the ex-Blue Jay, who has a ton of power. He was the 28th overall pick of the Blue Jays back in 2017. Has some elbow discomfort. He's always been injured. But if he can slate into this bullpen, or heck, he could be in the starting rotation if they get him right, that would be a big pickup for them as well. They do have a couple other pitchers that are out for Tommy John surgery, and they're likely not to pitch at all this year. Right, so that's the major league team, the way I see it for the Houston Astros in 2026. Let's talk a little bit about their farm system. This is a farm system that back in the mid to late teens were really, really good with really good players. They graduated those players, and their farm system has not been as good lately. 2021, they ranked 6th in Baseball America as far as farm system rankings. 2022, they were 22nd. 2023, they were 30th. 2024, they were 26th. And then 2025, they were 28th. Right now, they rank 27th in Baseball America as far as farm systems. All right, so let me talk about Xavier Nayans. He is the 19-year-old shortstop prospect, 6'4", 210 pounds. He's the number 19 prospect, or was the number 19 prospect for the 2025 draft, and really stood out among high school players, high school position players, non-pitchers. He probably is regarded as having the best strike zone judgment among his prep peers, with a little bit more power than anybody else. Maybe the only exception to that being Ethan Holiday, who we talked about as far as the Rockies prospect, Ethan Holiday, Jackson Holiday's brother. But, there are concerns about his overall hit tool, and that's why he was dropped to the number 21 pick overall. He didn't debut following the draft, but he should begin probably at low A this year, I would expect. He's a really big physical power hitter who will grow into more strength as his body matures. He's an average athlete who probably is not going to stick at shortstop. Typically, those guys will move either to a corner outfield spot, maybe third base. He's a left-handed batter who sets up with a wider base and his hands set kind of more by the back of his head. He's got a large leg kick that contracts into his body a bit. It's like I said, it's a powerful swing, generates a lot of clean backspin, and he peppers hard-struck fly balls to all parts of the yard, left, center, right. There is some swing and miss in his swing. That's something he's going to have to work on, and that's why he dropped a little bit. He struggles with off-speed and breaking pitches, really has trouble hitting those. So, again, they're going to have to work on that. And he's an average runner. Like I said, he's not this incredible athlete. The thinking is that he will move to third base as opposed to a corner outfield slot. He's got a decent arm, at least good enough for third base. And he's got good enough hands where he could probably stick at third base. He's got a lot of upside. He's probably one of the higher upside players in the 25 draft class. Could become a 30 home run guy. From a hit tool standpoint, he grades at a 45, but from a power standpoint, a 65. Could he be a Christian Walker type player? Maybe. So we'll have to see, but it's going to take time. Again, only 19 years old. He's a prep kid, and he's going to have to develop into his body a little bit, as all of these younger prep kids have to do. Outside of him, Xavier Nayans, they have no top 100 prospects. And again, that's just kind of a signal of what this team has become. They built this team, have had a lot of success, and just have not been able to replenish the farm. Now, international signing wise, they did sign Albert Fermin, the number 19th overall international prospect, in January. They paid him $2.1 million. Right now, a shortstop out of the Dominican Republic, 17 years old, 6'3" as a 17-year-old. That's a lot of size, 190 pounds, switch hitter. So that's one good name to remember. And then the 37th best prospect, Randy Arias, another shortstop, 17 years old. They paid him $1.4 million. He's 5'11", 155 pounds, and he's a right-hand stick. So we'll see if they can build up this farm system once again. And, we are pivoting here on this Astros team a little bit. They might be on the backside of this sustained run that they've had. If things fall apart for them, I think there's a couple names that you could look at as potential trade bait. I've got no position players on the list. The only starting pitcher I have is Lance McCullers, and I think he's tradable only if he stays healthy and pitches well. He's a free agent after this season. I think there's 3 bullpen arms to think about. That's Brian Abreu, Steven Okert, and Yel De Los Santos. All of them are going to play a pivotal role in what is a very good bullpen. All of them are free agents after this year. So I think that if the Astros wanted to build up their farm system, those are names that you could look at as potential trade assets for this team. So that is the Houston Astros. Where do I have them in my pyramid? Again, I think they are probably level, but more likely level 4. I don't think I have them as a playoff team. I think I have them on the outskirts, outside looking in. So that's what I'm thinking. Level 3, but probably more level 4. So with that, let's take a quick pause, and then we will move on to the next team. All right, this next team might take a little bit more time because of all the changes they went through. Boy, this has been a team that took a ton of heat from fans early in the offseason, and now I think this team is sitting pretty. Let's talk about where they've been. So back in 2021, they win 77 games. They finish in third place, 11 and a half games back, don't make the playoffs, okay? 2022 comes, and they win 101 games, finish in second place, and they lose the wild card to San Diego 2-1. It was a great year. They drew 2.5 million fans. Look, this team's always going to draw well. It's New York, and actually drew closer to 2.6 million fans that year. 2023 comes, they lose 75 games. So it's kind of this back and forth. Finish in fourth place, 29 games back, still drew close to 2.6 million fans, but did not make the playoffs. 2024, they win 89 games, only good enough for third place. They finish 6 games back. National League Division Series, they win over Philadelphia 3-1, but then lose the National League Championship Series 4-2 to LA. And then last year, they fall back to 83-79, second place, and did not make the playoffs. They drew over 3 million fans, which was really good to see. On August 2nd, this team was in first place. They had a half-game lead, but went 20-31 after that. They lost 10 of 11, and then in September lost 8 in a row, and this team just fell out of contention. So what did they do? They made a hell of a lot of changes. I'm going to go through this list in no order whatsoever, but I've got probably close to 24 names here, so I'll go through it quickly. These are the players they lost or not signed right now. So Max Kranick, a relief pitcher, still a free agent, was 3-2 with a 3.65 ERA for this team in 24 games, 37 innings pitched. Frankie Montas, free agent, starting pitcher, 3-2, 6.28 ERA, was hurt last year, still unsigned, started 7 games, 38 2/3 innings, 32 strikeouts, had a pretty good 2024, but then was hurt last year. Jesse Winker, still a free agent, 229, 1 home run, 10 RBIs, only had 70 at-bats last year. Okay, a couple of big ones. Pete Alonso signs with the Orioles. Pete Alonso, 272, 38 home runs, 126 RBIs, and 871 OPS. Yes, that was a significant loss from this team in the offseason. Another significant loss, Edwin Diaz, 6-3 with a 163 ERA, saved 28 games, struck out 98 batters in 66 innings, and pitched to a 0.87 whip. You lose your best power hitter and your closer. Not good. Brandon Nimmo, traded to the Rangers, 262, 25 home runs, and 92 RBIs. I mean, are you kidding me? This team loses 120 RBIs from two guys, or 220 RBIs from two guys, not to mention 63 home runs. So Nemo's gone, traded to the Rangers. Jeff McNeil, a longtime Met, traded to the Athletics. Now, his numbers were down last year, 243, 12 home runs, 54 RBIs. Tyler Rogers, a huge bullpen arm, goes to the Blue Jays, 4-6 with a 198 ERA. He pitched in 81 games, 77 1/3 innings. So a big loss there. They did lose some players in a big move, which I'll talk about shortly, but they lost a couple prospects, Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat and Luis Angel Acuna, all via trade. Two of them, Sproat and Williams, went to the Brewers, and then Acuna went to the White Sox. Again, these are prospects. Acuna had the most playing time, 234, 8 RBIs, 16 stolen bases. Cedric Mullins goes to the Rays. Now, Mullins came over mid-year in a trade, only batted 216, but did hit 17 home runs and drove in 59 runs. Sterling Marte is gone, batted 270 with 9 home runs, 34 RBIs, 7 stolen bases. And then a bunch of bullpen arms, including Ryan Helsley, 3-4 with a 4.50 ERA and 21 saves. Gregory Soto, 1-5 with a 4.18 ERA and 16 1/3 innings. Ryan Stanek, 4-6 with a 5.30 ERA and 56 innings. Danny Young was signed by the Braves. He only appeared in 10 games, 8 1/3 innings. Cooper Criswell, in a trade with the Mariners, leaves New York. He was 1-0 with a 3.57 ERA and 17 2/3 innings. Griffin Canning, a starting pitcher, injured, but was 7-3 with a 3.77 ERA for this team in 76 1/3 innings. He's gone. And then Drew Smith signed with the Nationals. Smith 1-1 with a 3.06 ERA in 17 2/3 innings. So that is, let me see here. Those names that I just gave you, there are 20 players that are no longer with this team that played for this team last year. So again, they lose all these guys, and the fans are like, what the heck is going on? You've destroyed this team. Steve Cohen's their owner, and it's like, what have you done? However, he responded, as did the front office. Freddie Peralta came to the Mets in a trade with the Brewers that sent those prospects to the Brewers that I mentioned, Jet Williams, Brandon Sproat. Freddie Peralta, one of the best pitchers in baseball, 17-6, a 2.70 ERA. Started 33 games last year, 176 2/3 innings. He strikes out 204 batters and pitches to a 108 whip. They signed Bo Bichette, the prized shortstop third baseman, 311, 18 home runs, 94 RBIs last year, an OPS of 840. He had 175 or more hits in 4 of the last 5 years, so really good hitter. They signed Luis Robert in a trade with the White Sox. I say they signed him. He was traded to them. This was part of the Luis Angel Acuna deal, amongst others. Robert only batted 223 with 14 homers and 53 RBIs last year. Did steal 33 bases, an OPS of only 661, but it sure feels like this is a guy who just needed a change of scenery. And I think he will perform much better in New York. Marcus Semien comes over from the Rangers. Semien, a down year offensively last year, 230, 15 home runs, 62 RBIs, 11 stolen bases. Devin Williams comes over from the Yankees. Williams did not pitched that well for the Yankees as a closer last year. 4-6 with a 4.79 ERA, 67 games, 62 innings, 90 strikeouts, a 113 WHIP. Devin Williams, I think he has the potential to have a much better year this year, maybe a little less expectation on him. Jorge Polanco, really good signing, second baseman, 265, 26 home runs, 78 RBIs, and 821 OPS. So of those names that I mentioned right there, I mean, that is some big players that you're bringing in. Bichette, Peralta, Robert, Semien, Devin Williams, Jorge Polanco. They did a really nice job making up for the players they lost. Now, they also signed Luke Weaver, a bullpen arm, 4-4 with a 3.62 ERA, 64 2/3 innings, 77 strikeouts. Tobias Williams comes over in the trade with the Brewers that brought them Peralta. He's a really nice arm, 1-2 with a 3.55 ERA, 22 games, 6 starts, 50 2/3 innings. He can start, he can pitch in long relief. A lot of things you can do with Tobias Myers. MJ Melendez comes over. Melendez forgot how to hit last year with the Royals. Only ended up having a few at-bats as he was in minor league ball for a while, so they'll give him a chance. Luis Garcia, relief pitcher, comes over, 2-2 with a 3.42 ERA, 55 games, 55 1/3 innings. Craig Kimbrell, the veteran, comes over, didn't pitch a lot last year, 0-1 with a 2.25 ERA. And then Mike Tauchman, an outfielder, 263, 9 home runs, 40 RBIs, a good name off the bench late in games or the platoon. So again, a ton of turnover for this team, a ton of change for this team. The question is, can they put it all together and win immediately? And that's going to be the job of Carlos Mendoza. He was hired before the 24 season as the Mets manager. You know, he's a former longtime Yankee bench coach. He is a first-time manager. He replaced Buck Showalter when the Mets pivoted to a new era under Steve Cohen and president of baseball operations David Stearns. Mendoza is known as even-keeled, a strong communicator, player-friendly, but not soft, like not in a soft way. He will be very authentic in his communication. He's organized, prepared, familiar with analytics, comfortable blending data and traditional feel, good with the clubhouse. You know, this is a high-profile position in New York. Even if it's not the Yankees, it's high profile. It's the other team in New York, not to mention the fact that there's going to be a lot of payroll to work with here when you have Steve Cohen as your owner. So Mendoza, there's going to be a lot of expectations on him. There's also a lot of expectations on president of baseball operations David Stearns, who was hired before the 2024 season. He's the former Brewers president of baseball operations. He reports directly to Steve Cohen, the owner. Billy Epler is the general manager, but make no mistake about it, Stearns is the top baseball decision maker on this team. Stearns has created a more disciplined roster construction with a little more built-in long-term sustainability, and we'll talk about that when we talk about their prospects. I mentioned Stephen Cohen, a number of times. He's owned the team since November of 2020. He is a hedge fund billionaire, founder of Point72. He owns 95% of the team. His net worth is among the highest in all of baseball. He's willing to spend. He's raised payroll dramatically. He's comfortable paying the luxury tax. He's very emotionally invested, which can be good or bad. He interacts with fans, and he has very high standards. So this team is set up to win. And, you know, Cohen will give Stearns the ability to spend to win. Now, they play in Citi Field. Citi Field isn't very hitter-friendly, probably one of the least friendly hitter stadiums in baseball. Overall, it comes in at about a 96 using a 100-point scale, 100 being average, plays more at a 96. April, offense is down 6% in Citi Field. May, it's up 2%. June, it's about on average with other stadiums. July is down 2%. August is up 1%. And then September, the ball flies pretty well. It's up 5% overall. That's just how the field plays with the air density and the impact of wind in that stadium. All right, so we've covered a lot so far with the Mets. Keep bearing with me. Let's talk about their lineup. Let's talk about their hitting. Last year, Their average was 14th in baseball as a team. On base percentage was 6th. OPS was 6th. Really good, right? They were 5th in home runs. And what do? They get rid of a bunch of power. They get rid of a bunch of hitters. This lineup is still really good. So let's talk about it. You've got Francisco Lindor at shortstop every day. Lindor's 32 years old, more of a veteran now. Last year, 267, 31 home runs, 31 stolen bases. I think, and I'm guilty of this too, that I had all these high expectations on Francisco Lindor when he came over, and he didn't meet those expectations. I was disappointed. But when I look at a year like last year, and I'm like, yeah, he only batted 267, he still hit 31 home runs and had 31 stolen bases. He gets on base at the 346 clip. His slugging percentage is 466. I need to get over myself. This guy's a star. He's going to play shortstop every day, and he is going to be a key to this team winning. Juan Soto. I looked at Juan Soto, and I'm like, he had a down year last year. I mean, 263 batting average. What's he doing? And then you look at his other numbers. His on-base percentage is 396. His slugging percentage is 525. So his OPS is over 900. He hit 43 home runs and stole 38 bases. This guy's an MVP candidate. And I'm criticizing him for having a down year. And by the way, I'm not the only one. There are fans in New York that criticized him. He will be fine. He is a very good player. He's 27 years old. He will be fine. Really good 1 and 2 so far in this lineup. Bo Bichette now comes over. He'll play third base. Again, Bichette last year, 311, 18 home runs, 4 stolen bases, gets on base at a 357 clip. He's the OPS well over 800. Really nice player in that lineup. Jorge Polanco moves to first base. If I do have a criticism, I think Polanco playing first base, I think you're losing a little something there. Look, a 265 hitter doesn't get on base as much as a Pete Alonso did. Polanco gets on base at a 326 clip, 26 home runs, not Alonso's 38 home runs, that's for sure. But I'd like him better if he was playing second base instead of first base, but he's going to play first base because Marcus Semion's going to play second base. Semien, like I said, 230 last year, down year offensively, 15 home runs. Semion's 35 years old, certainly not old, so he will have a chance to make some of that up this year. DH is probably Brett Beatty on a pretty regular basis, 254, 18 home runs, 8 stolen bases, pretty average hitter. But again, I think he's got some upside. He's probably going to platoon. He's a left-handed hitter. You might put a Tyrone Taylor out there. Taylor batted 223 with 2 home runs, 12 stolen bases last year. That's one option. Taylor's probably going to come off the bench more, but you can mix and match with some of these players. Beatty might spell an outfielder at some point as well. You've got Francisco Alvarez as your catcher. Alvarez, 256, 11 home runs last year, 339 on base percentage, close to an 800 OPS, more like 780 or so. You've got Luis Robert now as your center fielder. Again, Robert's numbers I have no doubt will improve. There's no way he's hitting 223. There's no way he's only hitting 14 home runs. The only thing I'm not sure of is that he will still steal 33 bases. But I expect a big comeback year from Robert. And then I'm gonna say Carson Bench, the 23-year-old, is going to get a chance to play the outfield for this team. Not sure he'll break camp with them. He was the 19th overall pick in the 2024 draft. And we'll talk about him a little bit when we talk about prospects for this team. But I think Benj is going to have a chance to play, if not opening day, not too far after there. Just bench players, Luis Torrens is probably going to be the backup catcher, 226 with 5 home runs last year. From a utility guy standpoint, I mentioned Tyrone Taylor. They also have Ronnie Mauricio. He is a switch-hitting infielder, batted 226 with 6 home runs last year. And then Mark Vientos can play first base, can play third base, can DH, 233 last year with 17 home runs. So they'll find a spot for him in the lineup from time to time. So again, this team finished 14th in average, 6th in on-base percentage, 6th in OPS. Are they better? Are they worse? I don't think they're better, but I don't know if with the changes they've made that they're any worse. I actually think they could be close to where they finished. Maybe their on base percentage, they instead of 6th, maybe they're 12th. Instead of 6th in OPS, maybe they're 12th. I think they're still top half of the league. Let's talk about their starting pitching now. You've got Freddie Peralta, who will now slate into that number 1 starting pitcher role. Again, one of the best pitchers in baseball, 2.70 ERA, 176 and 2/3 innings, just 124 hits, 204 strikeouts. I love that as a number 1 starter. Nolan McLean, the youngster, 24 years old, is likely to be in this rotation. I'm certain he's going to be in the rotation. We're going to talk a little bit in more detail about him when we look at prospects, but last year in 8 games started, 48 innings, just 34 hits and 57 strikeouts, pitched to a 2.0. He has a chance to be a number 1 starter, period. You've got David Peterson, the 30-year-old veteran, last year 168 and 2/3 innings, 166 hits, struck out 150 batters, 4.22 ERA. He's probably in that number 3 slot. Clay Holmes had a really nice year last year, 165 and 2/3 innings, just 150 hits and 129 strikeouts. He had a 3.53 ERA. I think he'll slot in that rotation, maybe in the 4th spot. You've got Sean Manaea, only pitched in 12 games last year due to injury, 60 and 2/3 innings, 62 hits, 75 strikeouts. Did have a 5.64 ERA, but as long as he's healthy, he's probably going to be in this rotation. And then you could go 6 deep in the rotation if you wanted, because you've got Cody Senga, who in 113 and a third innings just gave up 94 hits and struck out 109 batters last year, pitched to a 3.02 ERA. So you've got some good depth there in the starting pitching, some really good names, especially at the front end of that rotation. I think, when you look at last year, this team finished 18th in ERA and 26th in WHIP with their starting pitchers. I think this is at least a team that's going to finish in the 50th percentile, maybe in the upper half of the league in starting pitching. So I think their pitching has taken a step forward this year. Let's look at the bullpen. The bullpen finished 15th in ERA, 15th in WHIP, and Devin Williams is likely to close for this team. Again, he tried that with the Yankees last year. A lot of pressure, didn't work. He's a 2-pitch pitcher. He's got a fastball. He's got a really good changeup that moves well. Only a 4.79 ERA and 18 saves last year, but 62 innings, 45 hits, and 90 strikeouts. The peripherals are really good. I think he can succeed in that role. From a setup standpoint, you've got Luke Weaver. Again, he's coming over from the Yankees, 3.62 ERA, 64 and 2/3 innings, 46 hits, and 72 strikeouts. I feel really good about that. From the right side, Brooks Raley will come out and set up from the left side. 2.45 ERA, 25 and 2/3 innings, 14 hits, and 25 strikeouts. So I like the back end of that rotation. Middle relief, Luis Garcia, 3.42 ERA, 55 and a third innings, 55 hits, and 48 strikeouts. You've got Huascar Brazabin, who last year pitched to a 3.57 ERA, 63 innings, 51 hits, and 57 strikeouts. I like that. You've got Brian Hudson. He was signed off the White Sox roster. 4.80 ERA last year. We'll see if he ends up getting a spot in this bullpen, but I can see him being a middle reliever. And then I mentioned Tobias Myers. He can start. He can go in long relief. He could be middle relief. Right now, I see him being a long relief guy. 3.55 ERA last year, 50 and 2/3 innings, 54 hits, and 38 strikeouts. Now, they've got some injuries right now, and unfortunately, most of them are probably not going to be back this year. You've got Tyler McGill, who had Tommy John surgery in September. He's out for the year. You've got Reed Garrett, a good bullpen arm, who had Tommy John surgery October of last year. He will not be back this year. And then Daniel Nunez, another relief pitcher who had Tommy John surgery last July. He likely will not be back this year. AJ Minter had lat surgery in May of last year. He should be back sometime this year. He's a good veteran arm, signed with this team after being on Atlanta 2 2 years ago. He signed with this team last year, and again, had that lat surgery, so he missed a bunch of time. I want to talk now about the farm system. So this is a Mets team that 2021 was 19th, 2022 was 16th, 2023 they were 5th in baseball, 24 they were 8th, and then 25 they were 12th. Right now, Baseball America has them the 7th best farm system. And some of that is very front-end loaded, players that will hit the Mets this year. And it starts with Nolan McLean. So Nolan McLean is the top prospect for the Mets, 8th overall in baseball. The Mets drafted McLean in the 3rd round of 2023. He was primarily a right-handed reliever and a power-hitting outfielder for Oklahoma State. This player, he continued to be a two-way player in pro ball until the second half of 24 when the Mets said, look, drop the hitting and let's see what we can do on the mound. And in Double-A, he started to pitch every day and focused his energy solely on pitching. By 2025, McLean had raced through Double-A with a 1.37 ERA. He reached Triple-A, and on May 9th, he led all of minor league pitchers with 38 strikeouts, and just was breezing past everybody. The Mets called him up in August to make his major league debut. He pitched 5 1/3 scoreless innings with 8 strikeouts against the Mariners. He threw 4 quality starts and 8 tries, posted a 2.06 ERA and with 57 strikeouts in 48 innings. This guy looks like the real deal. Again, he is going to get the ball every 5th day. He's got a strong work ethic, generates at least 1 whiff on 6 different pitches, 6 different pitch types. His main weapons are a plus mid-90s two-seam fastball that averages 16 inches of arm side run. And then he's got a double plus mid-80s sweeper that breaks, about 16 inches towards the glove side. He's got a low 3/4 slot arm release angle that sets up his arsenal really well. He's got a low 80s curveball, an above average mid-90s 4-seam fastball. Against left-handed batters, McLean emphasizes his breaking pitches along with his low 90s cutter to work inside, and then he uses his mid-80s changeup to attack the arm side. He has got quality stuff, and he can be unpredictable due to the number of different pitches he throws. Again, 6 different pitch types from a 77-mile-an-hour curveball to a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. He will throw any pitch at any time in the count. He is just praised. He's got high spin rate on his breaking pitches, low spin changeup. I mean, this guy, I just can't say enough about him. I'm so excited to see him pitch this year. Scouts say he's got the upside of a number 2 starter. I think he can be a number 1 starter. So he will get the ball every 5th day. I mentioned Carson Bench. He's the outfield prospect, 22 years old, 6'1", 184 pounds. Mets number 2 prospect. Overall in baseball, he's considered the 19th best prospect. He played outfield and pitched for 2 seasons at Oklahoma State. He was a teammate with Nolan McLean, believe it or not. The Mets drafted Bench with the 19th overall pick in 2024. They had him drop the pitching and establish himself as a hitter and quickly became a top 100 prospect. He hit .281 with a .385 on base percentage and .472 slugging percentage with 15 home runs and 22 stolen bases across 3 different levels last year. His top attribute is his ability to drive the ball with authority to the opposite field. He's beginning to hunt pitches he can drive instead of waiting for them. He's got high zone contact rate against all pitch types. He should hit for average. He should walk a lot and produce above average power. He's a solid average defender in center field with above average defense, probably in a corner outfield slot. His plus arm plays in right field really well. He's a future quality regular, given his age, his production, and his progression. Again, I think he could break camp with this team, but if nothing else, he will be in a New York Mets uniform sometime in 2026. Let's keep talking about prospects that are on the cusp. Jonah Tong, their 3rd best prospect, number 44 overall in baseball. He's a right-hand pitcher, 22 years old, 6'1", 180 pounds, tasted the major leagues last year as a minor leaguer in 25. He led all minor league pitchers with 179 strikeouts and a 143 ERA, 148 batting average against. He was the minor league pitcher of the year, and again, the Mets called him up in August to show what he could do at the major league level. Most of his success comes around his fastball and the mechanics he uses to achieve its kind of unique characteristics. His delivery was inspired by Tim Lincecum. Lincecum always had a very unique delivery, so I want to see his delivery more and compare it to what I see in my head as Lincecum's delivery. He's a hard-throwing right-hander, loads his arm in a similar fashion to Lincecum with a deep arm plunge as he kind of puts weight on his back leg and then fires away. He points his lead foot towards first base dugout and then tilts his torso dramatically to achieve a lot of overhand arm slot. He's got an incredible extension and true backhand spin on his four-seamer that yields 19 inches of break. So really interesting. His velocity was up in 2025 from 92 miles an hour to 94 miles an hour. He's got a mid-80s Vulcan grip changeup that hits really well. Doesn't hit well, pitches well, but you know what I mean. He'll throw an occasional high-spin curveball and high-spin sliders that at least have average potential. He has walked a little bit more than the Mets would like in his career, so he needs to work on that. His inexperience does show at times, but his fastballs or changeups, he throws 85% of the time, really solid. He does need to control those. If he does, he'll probably be a number 3 starter for this team for years to come. 2 more players I want to talk about. A.J. Ewing is one-year-old outfielder. The Mets drafted him near the end of the 4th round in 2023 with a compensatory pick they gained for the Jacob deGrom signing with the Rangers. He started back at low A St. Lucie in 2025, ended up at high A Brooklyn at the end of April, and then moved to double A Binghamton in August. He batted .315 with a 400 on-base percentage and a .429 slugging percentage in 124 games. He ranked 5th in the minors with 70 stolen bases, 6th with 10 triples, and 8th with 153 hits overall. He's got a well-rounded game centered on strong swing decisions. He's got line drive contact to all fields and that plus speed. So that bodes really well for him. His strikeout rate fell from 12% to 9% as he moved through the minor league system. So that's really good. 401 on-base percentage and 70 out of 81 stealing bases. Excellent. He's got kind of a spray approach that does limit his power a bit, but his game is about getting on base. Primarily, he's played center field in pro ball, some starts at second base, but he's likely going to be an above average option in center field, or could be plus in one of the corner outfield spots. His arm grades out at a 55. His running is graded out at a 65. His hitting grades out at a 60. Again, his power only grades out at a 40. He bats left-handed, gets on base, like I said. Got a lot of versatility defensively. He finished 25 at double A. He'll likely reach triple A this year. And I wouldn't be shocked if he hit the Mets roster sometime during this year. The final player I want to talk about is Ryan Clifford. He's a first baseman, 22 years old. 5th best prospect for the Mets. Doesn't hit the top 100, but they acquired Clifford when they dealt Justin Verlander to the Astros at the 2023 trade deadline, and he blossomed into their top power hitting prospect. 19 home runs in 2024, mostly at double A, and then hit 29 home runs in 2025 to lead the system. And he ranked 6th in minor league baseball. 93 RBIs, 85 walks, 226 total bases last year for the Mets. Again, most of that at double A before he moved on to triple A. His 90th percentile exit velocity of 108.6 ranks very high among their prospects. He gets double plus power by hitting the ball in the air to his pull side. He made huge zone contact improvements last year, upped his aggressiveness to swing at more pitches that were in the zone. He, like I said, reduced his strikeout rate, but didn't sacrifice any of his power in doing it. He's got a plus arm that could play in right field, but he's more likely to be a quality defender at first base. how he progresses hitting the ball will depend on how far he goes in Major League Baseball. Like I said, he's a serviceable fielder at first base, right field, but it's his bat that's going to carry him. So he'll likely start at AAA. Again, could see the Mets sometime during this year. So, their top 5 prospects are all ready to graduate this year or more fully next year. So I expect that farm system to go backwards again a little bit. Now, saying that, they did sign 2 very good international prospects in January. They signed the number 2 overall international prospect, Wandy Asijan, from the Dominican Republic, just 16 years old. This kid's already 6 feet tall, 180 pounds. He's got a left-hand stick. Right now he's playing shortstop. And then the number 23 overall international prospect, Kleiner Ramirez, he's an outfielder, 17 years old, 5'9", 175 pounds. He's a right-handed batter. So they'll graduate some players from the system, but this is a system that does a really good job of not just signing free agents. They do build it the right way by growing some of this talent. This farm system would have been much better. And again, they're really good, ranking overall as the 7th best farm system. But that's even with them trading away Jet Williams and a Brandon Sproat as part of, getting a Freddie Peralta. So I have to talk about this, although I don't think I want to, because this team is going to succeed. This team's going to be successful. They're going to compete. They're going to compete for a National League pennant. But if shit hits the fan and this team is not what we expect them to be and they fall out of the race, they've got a lot of tradable assets. Luis Robert, he was traded to this team this year, signed for $20 million this year. He's got a $20 million club option for next year, but not a long-term deal. So he is a tradable asset. If he turns out to be the old Luis Robert, but this team is not succeeding, he is a really good tradable asset. Clay Holmes signed for $13 million this year. There's a player option for $12 million next year. If he pitches really well again and this team falls out of the race, he could be a trade asset. AJ Minter, I mentioned his health. If he comes back and pitches well out of the bullpen, he's a free agent after this season, so I could see him being a tradable asset. Brooks Raley is owed $4.75 million this year, and then he's a free agent in 2027. I like Brooks Raley a lot. Raley is Brooks Raley is trying to find out his age. Where are you, Raley? Why can I not find you? Raley is 37, going on 38 years old. So again, if he has a good year out of the pen, he could be a trade asset. Same with Luis Garcia out of the pen. Same with a David Peterson. These are all guys that could be trade assets at some point during this year, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention their biggest trade asset. And as of today, that is Freddie Peralta. He is only signed through the 26th season. He is only signed for $8 million. He is a free agent after this year. My heart of hearts tells me that the Braves are going to sign him to, or the Braves, that the Mets are going to sign him to a long-term contract, and he will be that number 1 starter for them. But if they don't, and this team falls out of contention, Freddie Peralta will generate a really nice return for this team. So how good are the Mets? Are they, I said that they are NL pennant caliber. I do think they are. I think this is a team that's going to finish in that 2nd tier or 3rd tier. I highly doubt I would put them in the 4th tier. I think they have to fit somewhere in that 2nd or 3rd tier. I think this is going to be a very competitive team in 2026. So that is the New York Mets and the Houston Astros, their team previews for 2026. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to the podcast covering the Mets and Astros. Again, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple, on Spotify, on YouTube. If you like this episode, make sure you click the like button. And don't forget to follow me on social media, X and Instagram. It's at TellUsEllisHQ. Shoot me an email, too, if you just want to talk, ask questions. Like I said, I'm going to get to the mailbag sometime very soon, I promise. But if you want to join the show, if you have a passion about something, I would love to have somebody come on and talk about golf, talk about the Masters coming up. We've got the NCAA tournament coming up, which I'm probably not going to dip a lot into because of all this time being spent on baseball. But if you have a passion about it, want to talk about it, let me know. We've got WrestleMania coming up, so we're going to have a WrestleMania preview show at some point. So a lot going on, a really good time of year. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, I will see you soon. Take care, everybody.